Hey you guys, welcome back. No CGI right here, please forgive the styrofoam. So I wanted to go back and redo a video that I did when I first started this channel, and it was basically about what can you expect to happen to your body, to your mind, to your emotions if you go through a divorce or a pretty significant separation. It's actually a lot of things, and I heard a story recently of someone who just kind of felt like their spouse was thinking that it was going to be a cakewalk, that they were kind of living maybe in a bit of a fantasy land where it's like, well, I'm just going to go over here and they're going to go over there and we're going to split kids up and everything's fine. That is, I would say, absolutely not realistic. And I mean, I just also originally made this video because I wanted to help people. If maybe you're really worried, like, is what's happening to me normal? Does this ever happen to anybody else? Because when do we ever talk about it? So I have like a list of like quite a few things that kind of came to mind, and I'll just run through them. And so that way you guys will know like what's normal. Do I need to seek medical attention? You know, do I maybe need to consider antidepressants? Do I need to go to some kind of like trauma recovery specialist or something of that nature? So just so you have an idea of like what's the par for the course, the run of the mill type of experience. So I'm just gonna run through it, and it probably won't be that long of a video. So one, either anxiety or anger can lead to insomnia. I had a friend that for at least 2 years, probably up to like 4 or 5 years now, she's just never slept the same. Different mattresses, tried listening to, the ocean waves, the white noise, the preachers, the worship music, all kinds of stuff. Just messed her up. She just could not calm down, I guess, when she went to bed. So weight gain, and part of that is just eating for self-soothing of the emotions. Severe isolation, that can often happen. We feel like no one understands what we're going through, no one can help us, or we're just really low on energy. Again, very, very low energy, kind of from no exercise. And so a lot of people have large medical events actually because there's a huge amount of stress that happens to your body. So a lot of people end up having like, all kinds of surgeries or kind of like breakdowns of the body, which I don't really think is that surprising. I didn't have a major one, but I definitely noticed certain like changes in my body. So one idea is like definitely don't let your health insurance lapse if you're between work. There's programs in the States, or just find out like if you're in a country that doesn't have socialized medicine, what you can do. I met a guy, he had loss of continence, so he would basically like, use the restroom while he was sleeping, and so he'd have to wake up. This is a grown man, he's not an old guy, middle of life, never had problems with that before, so it's not just for old people. Exaggerating your shortcomings and minimizing their shortcomings, it's kind of like a way to bargain maybe with them. If you take all the blame and you make them look like a saint, you think maybe things will change and they'll kind of come around. Or there's like a merry-go-round kind of inside your mind of my part versus their part, right? And so it's all kind of blaming and justifying. And it can be from different angles. Maybe you let them off the hook, or you let yourself off the hook, but then maybe you blame them, and then maybe you come back and blame you, and you just do that again and again for all these scenarios in all these different areas of your life. Self-doubt as far as the decisions that you did make that you thought were like principled and good, and then since the outcome was so bad, maybe you're thinking that was really stupid. Why did I do that? You could doubt your values as far as even your upbringing or things that you just thought that you knew. Like, what was one that I thought that was really interesting? Oh, honesty is always the best policy, right? Well, I used to always think that was 100% true. You should always do that. But in certain situations when you're dealing with people who aren't on your side and aren't friendly and aren't safe, maybe that's not a good scenario. Shocked that other people supported your ex's or your partner's actions, and that they maybe even to a small degree justified their behaviors. That may be like really off-putting or really like offensive to you. You may self-medicate, caffeine, like a lot of extra caffeine, alcohol, antidepressants like we talked about. Make sure if you're gonna go that route, get medical advice, do that the right way. You could have all kinds of little things like car crashes, or just like lapses of mental error, lapses of mental focus, just forgetfulness, all kinds of, like, people call it the fog. So that's very normal. Loss of direction in your life, loss of identity. If you always saw yourself as a spouse, you definitely lost part of that, at least for the time being. There could be thoughts of suicide. Again, if people think about those, I don't think that's all that uncommon to have like a flash idea of, I don't know what's going to happen in my life or whatever, but go get help, if those are like intense, or you're just not sure about how to handle those, or what's normal and what's not. Intense religious commitments. Many people, they get like hyper religious all of a sudden. They're praying all the time. They're like pleading with God, again, bargaining, begging that, oh God, please, like if I change this thing, you will like rescue our marriage. And there's nothing wrong. I mean, there's a huge payoff, actually. I love that Joyce Meyer says that our mess can be the message, and God will redeem these things. I think there is a great opportunity to grow closer with God and, form a relationship on an even stronger foundation with Him. But that often happens for a lot of people. Drop in work productivity, and that can be a huge thing, which may lead to like either a delay of a promotion or some kind of like poor review at your workplace. And it may be hard. People may want to pry and ask what's going on with you. And you got to be careful about how you're going to answer those questions as far as, are these people safe? Are these people that I should be talking about personal things with? So that could be really interesting. So apathy towards life, apathy towards others. Other people maybe go through difficult things. They may need your support, or they may share something that's going on with them, and you just kind of don't care. You just don't have the emotional bandwidth to jump in on it. You may feel very close with divorcees. I think that happens a lot. A lot of crying, uncontrollable crying at weird times, crying when it'd be better if you weren't doing that. And it's just part of the grieving process. But it may shock you. You may not have ever cried in your life before, and then all of a sudden you can't even grab hold of yourself sometimes and settle down. So doubt, thinking that maybe they'll change their mind. You're thinking this isn't real. This is part of doubting the reality of what you're going through. You're thinking maybe this is all just an overreaction and things are going to change. I mean, prayerfully, hopefully, yeah, it does happen, but I think recognize all of us wish that things were different when they're going really badly, and so to be dealing with having some of that doubt come up is going to be a normal thing. Again, bargaining, and this is a really awful one, especially guys. I would really warn about this, that if you give them something, that they're going to see how loving of a person you are and how gracious you are, and so your generosity will kind of have them turn the 180 and come back to your marriage. I mean, I met a guy, he gave his ex like a house, signed over the house to her. Didn't change anything. And so maybe people are saying, oh, if you just give me the kids, if you just give me the house, if you just sign over to me the retirement. But see, that's not going to work. Even if it does in the short term, it's not going to work in the long term, because they're always going to try to pull that kind of thing with you. It's not a healthy relationship. So my advice would be, don't do it. So being the whipping post, just letting them just hammer on you, blaming you for everything, just taking all this verbal criticism and everything. People often, it's very emotional if you have that kind of stuff coming your way, and often lawyers try to do that, especially if they're trying to make your character out to be like a low thing. If there's some advantage by, demeaning your character, by making you look bad or something like that, then brace yourself. It's probably almost certainly going to come. Don't forget that God went, sorry, this is the last one. So you may have fears of the children's future, fears of legal anxiety about money. You may have friends that kind of disappear, or the ones that you thought were really in your corner, they're kind of only halfway there. And look, it may be they're not as good as friends as you thought, and that can be very true. Or it could also be that they do care about you, but they don't have any experience with divorce. And so they don't really know what to say, how to support you, how to help you. And so, or they may just be kind of busy. And if it's like, oh, I'm kind of tired, do I want to have a super emotional conversation with my friend going through divorce? Or do I want to kick back, go to the gym, and watch football? It's like, sometimes they're going to choose the second one, let's be realistic. The sense that God and the world is just unsafe, that the world is like a scary place, that God is a scary place, that He doesn't protect us, that He lied to us, that everyone that you can't really trust what they say about themselves, that everybody's dishonest and like sneaky and not really who they claim to be. So that's a lot of things, and I would be surprised if you don't run into most of them. My final word is just don't forget that God went through His own divorce, or really separation. He was reunited with the people that he says that he was separated with for some time. So check out this card, or I'll leave in the end screen a short video I did on God's divorce. And my last encouragement would just be your best friend, and just use this time to find mastery over your emotions. I hope that helps. Don't freak out more than you have to, and you know, these are normal things. So if any of this stuff happens, don't be embarrassed, don't be ashamed. Don't be like, oh gosh, like mine is really bad. No, everyone's is really awful. Like it really is. And I would also just say, like, if you're considering divorce, realize that if people told you like, oh, it's like the movies or something where you just kind of go on to the next person and it's all good, it's like, ugh, it's probably not that easy. It's not that simple. So I just hope all of you all can avoid all y'all can avoid this situation. My heart goes out to you. My prayers are for you guys. We'll talk to you next time. Thanks, everyone.